Ready right now. Oh, wait, filming. Okay. Oh, hi there. Welcome back to the adventures of Chez and the saxophone. This is my top 10 saxophone hacks. So I'm basically going to let you in on all my best kept secrets. All these little things that you should know. So I've put them in an order. I don't know if it's a priority order, but it's an order. First things first, you would have heard, if you follow me, you would have heard me talk about these before. Cigarette papers. I'm not a smoker, but I've always got these on me. They're really, really handy. They're good for stopping sticky pads, but I'll come back to that. And they're good for a number of things, actually. Yeah, so if you've got particularly G-sharp key is a classic. Sticky pad, I'm just going to do an example on this one. You pop it underneath the pad, you put the pad down, don't press too hard, otherwise it will just tear, and pull, and it stops it sticking for you. It's also useful, this is terrible, I'm so stingy, but if your cork's just about gone, like it's cracking, or it's just gone really a bit loose because it's lost its sponginess, take a rizzler, wrap him around, and it just gives you that extra layer and a bit more grip. Same sort of thing if you've got issues with this screw here, and this has gone all loose, or sometimes people even lose this screw, and this has gone all loose. You could do the same there as well. Take it, wrap it around, it just gives it that little extra bit of grip. The last thing, you won't need this very often, but the last thing that's quite useful with rizzlers, if you're doing a lot of top notes, so maybe you're working through my altissimo video or something like that, and you're really, really trying all these top notes and doing a lot of biting, or if you're a soprano player and you've got tight embouchure, fold it again, until, I'm doing this really messily, but I'm trying to do it quick. So you've got a tiny little thing like this, and then you put it over these teeth here. Over the teeth. If you get some moisture on that, it'll stick. Alright? And it means you can't really talk anymore, but you've got a cushioning on your teeth that stops you biting into your lip. Only really useful if you're doing a lot of top stuff. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that regularly. If you find that you get a really sore lip playing, it could be a number of other reasons. It's only if you're using it for top stuff. So that was my number 10. Number 9, going back to the sticky pads. If you've spent some time, first of all, make sure you do clean your saxophone every time. They're called pad savers. I don't have one because I don't approve of them, but the fluffy things that you put down the saxophone, I think are more pad destroyers. They soak up all of the moisture and keep it there. I wouldn't recommend it. Make sure you use a pull-through cloth every time. But if you're still having a problem with a sticky key and you don't really want to take it to the repair shop just for one thing, like a sticky key, so you've used your rizzler, it's still sticking. This particularly happens with sopranos. I don't actually have any with me right now because I'm doing this in a bit of a rush before going off to work, but sandpaper. Now that sounds scary, using sandpaper in your saxophone. It's actually okay. So there's a rough side and a sort of not so rough side on the sandpaper. If you put the rough side facing the hole and the not so rough side on your pad, gently push it down and pull. So if I do an example with the rizzler, this is my sandpaper, rough side down against the hole, gently put it down and slowly pull it through. That should clean it up for you if you've already used rizzlers and it's not working. So sandpaper, don't be afraid of it. It can be your friend. Okay, number 8, reeds. Now you should always try a few from the box. They're all different. It's a very common complaint that you buy a box of reeds, it's really expensive, and you only end up using 2/3 of it or 3/4 and the others go in the bin. So yes, make sure you use your favourites first. Now when you've run out, if you're feeling a bit stingy, you can, it's normally the hard ones that get left, you can file them down. So here's my file, and what you do is you just take this far, I've got a video with more depth on this, so I'm showing this very briefly, and there'll be a pop-up coming up above my head now if you're interested in knowing more about how to file reeds and shape them. But you can file your reed. Please do watch that video before trying this, because you can really screw up your reeds, to make it a little bit softer for you. I don't know why I'm doing that to a reed that I really love. I shouldn't do. Or I do have another video on rolling them. I won't even do an example. You can actually roll them a little bit as well, which can get a hard reed up just that little bit softer. They don't tend to last as long, but at least you've used it a bit rather than putting it in the bin. So again, that's going to be popping up above my head to show you a little bit about how to shape those reeds that you don't like. So that's my number 8 secret top tip. Number 7, making sure that you have everything on you, because you never know when you might need it. You can use your saxophone itself for storage. So I put quite a lot in the bell, particularly baritone sax. It's got a massive bell, loads of storage. Big fan of these Saxy sax stands. I actually used the Hercules one for a while, and I found it wasn't very stable. So I'm all about the K&M. Again, I've done a video on this. If it doesn't pop up, there'll be a link in the description box on my thoughts on how to put these things together. But the main point is, it fits in the bell. So you've got your sax stand with you whenever, wherever, and it stops the temptation to put the sax down. And I think that's when the most damage happens, is when you've just popped it down for a minute. Have a sax stand. They're not that expensive in the long run, because you're going to use it time and time again. That's a bit of a do as I say, not as I do. You should always put it in its sock if you're going to put it away in your sax. Otherwise, you're going to end up with scratches all down the bell. So it does come with a little sock cover. Don't lose that. Keep that and put it in its sock before you put it in the bell. But then you've always got it on you, which is great. And down it goes. What am I on? Number 6. Right. Yeah. So reeds again. God, saxophones are such geeks with reeds. Making your reed last as long as possible. So first of all, you've taken it off, given it a quick wipe. Make sure you get the majority of the moisture out by giving it a squeeze. And then you've cleaned out your mouthpiece, you've cleaned out your neck joint. Rather than put this back in the case again, which does, I mean, admittedly, the case does have air holes. I find they deteriorate quicker when you do that. Because I just don't think it can get enough air to it. It's just not breathing and drying out. The condensation isn't coming off. So you end up with mold. I think it dries better on the mouthpiece. So put it on the mouthpiece, lower it down so it's not completely flush. You want it to have some space. Lower it down and then put your cap on top. And your cap should have air holes as well. So you put the cap on top. Let me just do that. Right. Cap with air holes goes on top so that the reed isn't going to get chipped in my bag either. So, storing reeds. Now, we're up to the last few. Okay, insider tip. Those palm keys that are really awkward to get to, if you've got to this stage in your practice where you're up in the gods and using the high notes, you're all of those guys, they're actually really pretty awkward. And as you can see, I often wear a ring on my index finger. I very rarely use that palm key, side key fingering. I'm a front key user. I've done a video on these alternative fingerings. I just think they're a lot richer. I think they're easier to use. They're not that easy to get out when you try them at first, which I think is what puts people off. And that's why a lot of instructors will show you to use the palm keys first. But I think they're a nicer tone. So here's my side key E, palm, and here's my front. Just think it's a lot warmer, rounder sound. So we've got a front E and a front F for those top tones. And to me, they're just so much warmer and richer. And if you can work out how to get them out nice and reliably, actually that is your first step to getting your altissimos, your proper screamers, which are just really fun to be able to use. So I would recommend you work on those front E and F. Top tip from Chez. What are we on? Number 4. Numero quattro, we're nearly there. Okay, number 4. Now, you may or may not have noticed me doing this if you follow my channel, and hi, thanks, welcome back if you do. I do this a lot. So I click finger. I think I've mentioned it in 1 or 2 videos, but I don't think I've done a video actually on it. It's instead of tonguing, it's an alternative to tonguing. So if I do it on a G, here's my usual G. I'm going to start my G with the air coming at the same time as that finger, and it just makes a really soft beginning. If I do it on A, and an E. So I'm not actually tonguing at all. I'm using that finger to give it that little that I want to start the note. And if you can coordinate it perfectly with the breath, it's really nice for a soft start to a note rather than I just think it's a really, really nice little technique that's worth working on. So click fingering, it's an insider tip there from the sax community. What else? Oh, this is a funny one. Everyone's got their little noise that they make when they first pick up the sax. So I don't know what I do. Probably something on those of something that was just, what is that? Sort of kind of a G feel. I just noodled. But one of the things I'll always do is this. So I'm sort of frantic, clicking around with my G sharp. Now G sharp is the most unreliable key for sticking. So I'll just check it a lot. And I do it through the gig as well. Every now and then I'll give the G sharp a little wiggle. I mean, my sax, I've got my Selma Series 2 here, and he is getting a little bit old and tired. I'm sorry, babe, it's true. So, you know, if you've got a brand new sax, maybe this wouldn't happen, but I don't think it's a bad habit to get into. It's not really that offensive. Perhaps if you were recording, you'd want to avoid it. But give that G sharp key a little wiggle every now and then, and it just prevents it from sticking halfway through the gig. So that's a good one. We're down to the last 2. My last 2 insider tricks. I'm going to regret giving this away. You guys are going to steal my job now. Vibrato. That is, particularly on the top notes. Yeah. It's the colouring of the note that stops it being quite so thin and crass. Without sounds very thin. With it just really, really warms up that sound for you. So there should be a little link popping up above my head now to link you to a hilariously old video of mine, which I should really redo because the lighting's going all funny in it, but the content is good. So I've just left it for the time being. I will redo that video at some stage. But how to vibrato, it's a bit of a journey. It takes a long time to master and do well, but you know, you've got to start somewhere. So start with that video and spend some time trying to learn how to vibrato. It really, really is a game changer in more advanced saxophone playing. So I would massively recommend that. So we're on to my last one. Hooray! I'm nearly done rambling at you. Bending. That's a really important one. It's just such a stylistic thing, and if you can learn to bend between notes, it actually opens a lot of doors for you in terms of creating solos that are just stylish, as opposed to, okay, I need to get lots of notes in order to create something impressive. You can play around with the colours and the tones more if you've got more control over your embouchure. And the way that I'm doing that really is mostly with my throat. Hopefully you can see a bit of movement going on in here. Again, there's a video for that. I've done a video on note bending, and actually that's my biggest top tip, I think, in order to create a really kind of stylish, more pro sound, is to really master that whole bending thing. And it, you know, it's a game changer. It changes you from being okay, now I'm going to put a bit of vibrato and some bending in that. game changer. Those two in particular. Okay, that's all I have to say. I think hopefully that was useful. All of my secrets in one handy video. If you liked it, for the love of God, give it a thumbs up. It means the world to me. These videos take ages, and if you give me some feedback on what you liked and what you didn't like, it makes a big difference to what I do next. So do keep in touch, write comments. I love hearing from you, and I try and get back to every one of you because you're all very important to me. If you haven't subscribed, please do join the team, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheerio, bye. So I am serious about this subscribing thing. Hit the button. Do it. Do it, or I'll drop the sack. I will. I'll do it.